Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that every single dollar, euro, yen, and pound in circulation was born inside a private castle in Switzerland, owned by one bloodline. It's not a government, not a nation, one family. You pay taxes to them, yours are funded by them. Your mortgage, your car loan, your credit card, your cent of interest ultimately flows uphill to the same handful of heirs. Tonight I'm going to name that family, show you the paper trail, show you the quiet 300-year takeover that almost nobody talks about. Because the people who own the printing press also own the history books. Stay until the end, because the third takeaway will show you the one asset this family is terrified you LL figure out before the next reset. 058 stage setting. Most people think central banks are federal or national. The Federal Reserve. Bank of England, European central banks, sounds governmental, right? It's wrong. Every major central bank on Earth is either privately owned or governed by private. Commercial banks that answer to an even higher private authority. And at the very top of that pyramid sits a single European dynasty that has survived revolutions, world wars, and every financial collapse for 3 centuries, always emerging richer. Their name is whispered in conspiracy circles, but tonight we're not doing whispers, we're doing receipts. 145, Section 1. Origins, the birth of private money, 1694 to 1815. It starts in 1694, London. England is broke after decades of war. King William III needs cash fast. A Scottish merchant named William Patterson walks into the palace with a devil's bargain. Give me and my investor friends a private corporation called the Bank of England. Let us print paper money backed by nothing but your royal promise. In exchange, we'll lend you £1.2 million at 8% interest forever. The king signs. The world's first privately controlled central bank is born. Within 20 years, the same model spreads to Sweden, France, and Prussia. The real genius move happens in 1815, right after Napoleon is defeated at Waterloo. The 29-year-old banker named Nathan Rothschild, stationed in London, gets the news of Napoleon's defeat hours before the British government. He spreads fake rumors that Britain lost, crashes the stock market, buys up the entire British economy for pennies on the pound, then reveals the truth, making his family the largest shareholders of the Bank of England overnight. That single trade turns the Rothschilds from rich merchants into the silent owners of a nation's money supply. 340, Section 2. The Rise, Building the Global Web, 1840 to 1913. Over the next century, the family perfects a playbook that is still used today. Finance both sides of every major war, Crimean. American Civil War, Boer War, so whoever wins still owes you. Marry into nobility to gain legal immunity across borders. Quietly buy shares in every new central bank as it forms. By 1900, Rothschild banks in London, Paris, Vienna, Frankfurt, and Naples act as one coordinated unit. They underwrite the Suez Canal, South African diamonds, Russian oil, and Japanese war bonds against China. Each time a government needs money, it borrows from a Rothschild-linked bank and pledges future taxes as collateral. Debt becomes perpetual. The family's own estimate in 1850, leaked by Disraeli, was that they controlled half the wealth of the world, adjusted for inflation. That's over $10 trillion in today's money. I-30, Section 3, the breaking point minus 1,913, and the American heist 1910, Jekyll Island, Georgia. A secret meeting so secret the participants arrive under fake names. Paul Berg, Rothschild, agent in America. Nelson Aldrich, grandfather of Nelson Rockefeller, and representatives of J.P. Morgan and Kuhn, Loeb & Co. draft the Federal Reserve Act on a private hunting estate. 3 years later, on December 23, 1913, while most of Congress is home for Christmas, Woodrow Wilson signs it into law. America's money creation is handed to a private corporation whose shareholders are the same European banking houses. Wilson later admitted, "I have unwittingly ruined my country. A great industrial nation is controlled by its system of credit, controlled by a small group of dominant men. The Fed is born, and the Rothschild web now reaches the world's largest economy." 720, Section 4. Fallout, World Wars, and Bretton Woods, 1914 to 1945. The family finances Germany through Warburg banks. Britain through N.M. Rothschild and Sons, in America through J.P. Morgan Rothschild Partner. When the dust settles after WW2, the same players create the IMF and World Bank at Bretton Woods, both headquartered in Washington, but governed by voting shares held overwhelmingly by the same private banking cartel. The dollar becomes the world reserve currency, but every dollar printed still pays interest to the private Federal Reserve banks. That interest flows to the primary dealer's side group, J.P. Morgan. Goldman Sachs, who are modern fronts for the same old European houses. 9 o'clock, Section 5, failed fixes and camouflage, 1971. Today, 1971. Nixon closes the gold window. Money officially becomes pure debt. The family no longer needs gold vaults. They own the computer code that creates credit. To hide the concentration, they invent layers. BIS, Bank for International Settlements in Basel, Switzerland, becomes the central bank of central banks. Its board is unelected, immune from all national law, and meets in total secrecy. Ownership of the BIS, still the original private central banks founded centuries ago. Today, through trusts, shell companies, custodial accounts, the extended Rothschild dynasty, together with allied families Verburg, Oppenheimer, Lazard control roughly 80% of global central bank equity and the river of sandurage that flows from it. That's not conspiracy theory. That's straight from the BIS annual reports and the shareholder lists of the national central banks that still exist in paper form. 1110 modern parallels and shocking data. Right now, global debt $305 trillion IMF 2024. 97% of it is owed to the private banking system. This alone oversees $97 trillion in off-balance sheet derivatives, more than global GDP. The top 8 shareholders of the U.S. Federal Reserve, according to a 1976 congressional audit that was never updated, are still the same banks that trace back to 1913. Every time a new CBDC is announced, China, the CB FedNow, is built on infrastructure licensed from the same cartel. Your digital wallet won't free you. Will make the surveillance and control absolute. 13 o'clock. Repeating patterns. Look at the pattern across 300 years. Crisis gives. Emergency loan from private bankers gives new central bank or IMF program gives perpetual interest payments, gives loss of sovereignty. Greece 2010, Argentina 2001, Africa's structural adjustment programs, same playbook, same beneficiaries. 1433, clear takeaways. Takeaway number 1. Money today is not issued by governments. It is rented from a private cartel at interest. Every new dollar in your pocket was born as someone else's debt. Takeaway number 2. The family's power is no longer in flashy palaces. It's in share certificates of the BIS, the Fed primary dealers, and the clearinghouses that nobody is allowed to audit. Takeaway number 3. The one asset this bloodline has always feared is physical gold and silver in private hands, because precious metals are the only money that cannot be printed or deleted by a keyboard. That's why every major bullion bank is still controlled by the same names. And that's why they flood the paper market every time physical demand spikes. 1640 final warning, open-ended thought. We are heading into the biggest debt reset in history. The IMF has already published papers on the Great Reset of money when it happens. The same families who created the problem will offer the solution, a global digital currency fully controlled by them. The question is, will you still own something they can create with a keystroke before that day comes? 1720, call to action. If this video woke something up in you, do 3 things right now. Hit the like button that tells YouTube this isn't afraid of the truth. Drop the word BIS in the comments if you want a full breakdown on the Bank for International Settlements next. Share this video with one person who still thinks central banks are federal. The algorithm buries channels that name names, so your share is the only way we grow. Thank you for watching. Stay curious, stay sovereign, and I'll see you in the next one.